Hey everybody, and welcome to this Tuesday's rather spontaneous MBE movie news. We were originally supposed to be doing a movie review, but Stephen is sadly not feeling up to it today, so I thought I'd jump in and, as I did say, give a little spontaneous bit of breakdown of the latest entertainment news from the world of Hollywood and just film in general. We have got some very intriguing little topics to touch upon on today's show. The first one is all about 2020's event movie, one of two event movies for me, I have to say, the other one being Denis Villeneuve's Dune. I'm not speaking about that today, I'm speaking about the other event movie, perhaps the most important movie of this year in terms of where it is positioned in its release slot. Will it remain there, and if it does, could it be the one that really opens up the floodgates for theatres and getting bums on seats and watching movies on the silver screen again? I am of course talking about Christopher Nolan's Tenet movie. Now, why am I speaking about this? I'm not going to wax lyrically, hopefully, about the potential of it being the event movie this year. I will briefly divert onto that before I move on, but no, this one, or the reason that I'm actually speaking about this, is because there's been a rather intriguing little news article dropped on various sites, but I'm using MovieWeb, and it's all about the premise of this movie. Of course, anyone who is aware of Nolan and aware of his sort of closely knit relationship with Warner Brothers will know that he likes to keep things under wrap with movies. Of course, he couldn't do it with Dunkirk because it was Dunkirk, but he's kept things really under wraps about this movie in terms of what's going on in the story. But now we've had a nice little sliver of information about what's perhaps going on in this really exciting and, for me, highly anticipated movie. They're saying that it is his Quantum Cold War movie. Now, why the hell does this make me excited? Because if this is Christopher Nolan once again, we knew that he was going to be putting a sci-fi sort of twist on it. Anyone that's watched the trailers will realise that when you've got time travel and whatnot involved, then there is sci-fi twist going on in there. And you can see with the sort of photographs and the wallpapers and everything, promotional stuff, for lack of a better word, that have been doing the rounds. You've got buildings contorting and whatnot, that he's going all Inception again. But the fact that he's putting a sort of cold warm slant on this excites the hell out of me, because this is a man who was often derided for having a sort of cold approach to his storytelling, that there wasn't enough humanity in it, and that he very rarely diverted from that sci-fi genre. He obviously went and done Dunkirk, and that was his first sort of historical drama. If this is a Cold War set movie, then he's dabbling in sort of real life historical stuff, but he's putting sort of an alternate universe slant on it with this time travel, perhaps saving the world. We do have John David Washington, I do believe, who is in this movie, with obviously Robert Pattinson, and by all accounts they're going to be going off and trying to save the world from a potential Armageddon event. Now, this is the other little piece of information that has dropped regarding this movie. I don't know if that's entirely true, but we have seen rumours that perhaps the reason he's having to go back and relive things and flip time is because he has to go and save the world from a potential catastrophic World War III event. Now look, that alone excites me, because I just love Christopher Nolan. I love his cerebral storytelling style. I love what the man brings to the world of filmmaking with his wacky stories, the ambiguity, and that is something that they have says in this article as well. Ambiguity. They are saying, this is from a book, incidentally. This is the book is called Tenet, The Secrets of Tenet, inside Christopher Nolan's Quantum Cold War. And they have says in this book, they have described it as a mind-blowing espionage thriller so unique that audiences will puzzle over its intricacies for years to come. Does that not just remind you of Inception? Does it not just remind you of what the man did in Interstellar? Well, the movie was so layered. These movies, I should say, it's plural not singular, were so layered and so intricate with the storytelling and character arcs and what they were doing at the end of those movies, that it was so ambiguous that it had people speaking and theorising what the hell was going on with those movies a decade on. I don't think we're even a decade on from Interstellar and Inception. Well, maybe Inception, 2010 I think that came out. But you know what I mean, the people are speaking about these movies many, many years afterwards. So that's just something I've came to expect from Christopher Nolan over the years. You slant that with a Cold War setting, and you bring in the brilliance of a John David Washington, or a David John Washington, I think, John David Washington, and Robert Pattinson. You've got magic for me. Absolute magic. I cannot wait to see this movie. Now, I will briefly speak about this whole event movie thing, and Christopher Nolan's determination to have this movie be released in theatres in July this year. He's absolutely steadfast in his determination to have this movie released in the theatres in the obvious aftermath of the coronavirus pandemic. Obviously, I'm saying aftermath. We will not have an aftermath until there is a vaccine released. Everyone knows that now. But you've got to admire the man's determination to be the saviour of cinema, to be the saviour of the box office in 2020. I'm very, very excited for this movie. I cannot wait. I hope we do get to see it in theatres. It's certainly one of my most anticipated movies of the year, so hopefully it will be the event release of 2020. Hopefully it will be the movie that spurs people into theatres to watch it. Hopefully it will be the movie that saves the box office this year, because it's absolutely on its arse at the moment. There's nothing releasing. It was already going to be a quieter box office year anyway, but with this nonsense that's going on and theatres being shut and perhaps going out of business, it's even worse. So we need a movie like this to come in and save the day. But look guys, I'm going to move on to the next topic. This one's coming in also from Movie Web, and it's going to the world of Star Wars, and this is all about Boba Fett actor, of course, Temuera Morrison. They don't say it in the headline, but I'll say it. It's Temuera Morrison is potentially coming back to reprise his role as obviously the notorious bounty hunter Boba Fett. Now look, this is apparently going to be happening in season 2 of The Mandalorian. I slightly bamboozled as to how they're actually going to implement this character into this second season, because of course it does take place after the events of The Return of the Jedi, where he obviously died apparently in the Sarlacc pit. It was never confirmed. There was releases, I believe, in the Aftermath trilogy, which is the current canon in the new Star Wars, the Disney Star Wars, and it revealed that he had actually survived, that his armour had been spotted in a marketplace or something like that, and that revealed that he had made it out of the Sarlacc pit. Of course, never actually officially confirmed in the movie sphere or the actual TV, but now apparently he is going to be coming back to reprise his role, and it's all very exciting to see how they're going to implement this notorious character, fan favourite, into this story in a way that's natural and doesn't overshadow the Mandalorian himself. Obviously Pedro Pascal, a great actor that he is going to have his work cut out trying to elbow this guy out of the way and remain the main man in this TV show. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know why they're doing it, why they wouldn't just give him his own TV show, sort of criminal underworld setting with perhaps Jabba and whatnot in the past. I don't know why they're doing it. I think it's probably more than likely fan service, in all honesty. They're just trying so hard to keep the fans on side, to keep them happy after shitting on them for the last 3, 4, 5 years with all of these sequel trilogy movies. Kathleen Kennedy being a crazed feminist to try to push her agenda at the expense of storytelling. I think that's more than likely why they are doing it. And they know that fans want to see Boba again. Well, most of them. I don't, personally. Don't think he's that interesting a character. I think me and Stephen have spoke about this many, many times before. He's essentially set dressing. He was something good to look at in Jabba's palace, something interesting to look at on Cloud City, on Bespin, in The Empire Strikes Back. But when the going get tough and he actually had to get in the midst of fighting, he never really did anything. He never really excelled himself. He was made to look like a fool by Luke Skywalker. And actually, was it Luke Skywalker? I actually think it was Han who bumped into him or something like that, and he rolled down the sail barge into the Sarlacc pit. So look, it's exciting because I'm looking forward to seeing how they will implement this character into this TV show. A very good TV show as it is. How they're going to do it. Is it going to be more than fan service, more than a brief little cameo? Will he have a sort of reoccurring role in this TV show? Will he work in conjunction with the Mandalorian? I don't know, but apparently Temuera Morrison is going to be doing double duty in the second season of The Mandalorian. Not only will he be returning to reprise his role as the infamous Boba Fett, but he is also apparently rumoured to be returning as Captain Rex as well, of course, the clone trooper from the Clone Wars, and I believe he popped up in Rebels as well. I've not seen it in many months, if not years now, and therefore my mind may be a little bit foggy, but he's a great character, a very intriguing character, a humanised clone trooper, and Temuera lended his dulcet tones, his dulcet anthropodine tones to it very well, and I'll be very intrigued to see where they can fit this character in. Obviously he did survive the events of the original trilogy. I believe he may have been the guy who was supposedly on the Endor moon planet, the moon planet of Endor, with the scout party who obviously had to take down the shield bunker. I think they shoehorned that older guy with the beard into the Captain Rex role. So we know he survived. We know he's a sort of unaltered, a clone of Boba Fett, and maybe that's how they fit these two characters in, perhaps. I don't know, maybe Captain Rex discovers that Boba survived the events of the Return of the Jedi. Maybe he goes on a vengeance mission to take down the creator, if you'd like. I don't know, but I tell you what, I have got full confidence in Jon Favreau and everyone else involved in this production to get it right, because they really did nail the feel and the tone of Star Wars in that original series. I really enjoyed it. Short, succinct, beautiful little stories and great screenplay and whatnot from Favreau. Great directing from the likes of Bryce Dallas Howard and Taika Waititi. Look guys, we're going to move on to the next topic. This one is coming in from Screen Rant, and it's all about Stephen King's revival. Yet another novel getting the movie adaptation treatment, and from a very familiar face when it comes to Stephen King movies. A man who did Gerald's Game, I'm not sure if that's correct, but he obviously did do Doctor Sleep as well. Mike Flanagan I'm talking about here, of course. A man who just knows the horror genre like no other. A man who has made some of my favourite horror movies in the last 5-6 years. A man who made The Haunting of Hill House. A man who is going to be doing the sequel to The Haunting of Hill House, and apparently it's in post-production, so very happy as a little aside to see that project, not thing, is finished. It's in the can. It's not been disrupted by the coronavirus, and it may not be long at all before getting thrust into the mucky world of that. A project and a TV show which the man himself has said is even scarier and darker than The Haunting of Hill House. Really excited for that, and I'm really excited to see him tackling Stephen King's work once again. Revival, by all accounts, is about a man who loses his faith when his wife and his kid die unexpectedly in a car crash. He becomes embroiled with some strange man. I think he starts turning to supernatural occultist things. Becomes embroiled with this strange guy who he had a brief encounter with when he was younger, and they start going down some dark routes, and I think they make a pact, and it's Stephen King all over it. Dark, supernatural, horror movie. We've seen it with Doctor Sleep. This man knows how to handle Stephen King's work. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the performances he got out of the likes of Ewan McGregor. Always forget the leading, the Mad Hatter, or whatever the hell that villain was called. Really great performance from her, incidentally, but I can't remember her name. So he knows how to tackle the genre. He knows how to get really good performances out of the actors, and he seems to have a basic grasp of what it takes to make the adaptation of Stephen King's work, essentially, for lack of a better word. And that's no mean feat, because we have seen many adaptations of Stephen King's work, the likes of The Dark Tower, and it just fails, it bombs. So not everyone can grasp this man's work and make it work on the silver screen or the small screen. And I think the case of perhaps The Stand and whatnot, we've seen that done on TV shows and things like that. Really excited, man, to see what this guy brings. He really does know what he's doing in the world of horror. I just love his movies. I loved Hush, I loved Doctor Sleep, as I said. I love what the guy brings to the genre, and I'm really excited to see him tackling yet another Stephen King work. But look guys, I'm going to move on to a topic which doesn't excite me. A topic which I hope is the figment of this man's imagination, this deluded figments, the permal trip of this man's imagination. It's all about the Deadpool co-writer hoping amongst hopes, all hope that Hugh Jackman will return as Wolverine. This is Liefeld, Rob Liefeld. He had a recent interview with someone, I don't know who, but the actual article I'm reading is coming from MovieWeb yet again. And he says, I'm stuck on Hugh Jackman. Having met Hugh, having loved Hugh, there is only Deadpool because of Wolverine. I was doing Deadpool in the comics to get Wolverine. Wolverine was always the goal. I can't answer the question on Wolverine. I'm stuck on Hugh Jackman. I hope to God he comes back. I do. He's been seriously firm that he's not going to be Wolverine, and I foolishly don't believe him. I knew it was the right time for me to leave the kit at the party. Not just for me, but for the character. I think this is actually Hugh Jackman who's saying this. They're fine with someone else, yada yada. Look, Liefeld, mate, I'm sorry, I just don't agree with you. I understand you have passion for the character, you have passion for what Hugh Jackman brought to the character, as we all do. We're all fans of Hugh Jackman in the world of cinema. You can't not be. If you're a fan of comic book movies and you don't like what he did with that iconic character over a period of, I don't know, 20 years, 16 years, then there's something seriously wrong with you. He was iconic, he was synonymous with the character, much like a Robert Downey Jr. was synonymous with Tony Stark and Iron Man. And it's going to be really hard for fans and filmmakers alike to acquiesce to the fact that this man is not coming back. But it's the correct decision from Hugh. He should not come back to the character. You can't top what he accomplished with Patrick Stewart in Logan. It was just a fantastic movie. It was dark. It was R-rated, it was sad, it had everything. It was just a beautiful, beautiful movie. It really represented or portrayed dementia as well in a really tender and respectful way with the Charles Xavier character. It still blows my mind that Patrick Stewart never got a nomination for an Oscar for that performance. I just thought that was stunning. So it's absolutely the correct decision to step away from the character. It went as far as he could go with the character in terms of the Fox side of things, and I understand that this guy would love to see him come back and have an on-screen moment with Ryan Reynolds, but I've seen other people speaking about this story and they're absolutely right in what they say, and that he'd only be played as a joke. It'd be played as a light-hearted, jokey sort of role, and that's not what I want to see after him portraying that character in Logan. It wouldn't work. It'd be wrong, it'd be jarring. I don't want to see it. So I'm sorry, Liefeld, Rob Liefeld, whatever your name is, I do not want to see this happening. As much as I'd love to see him work with Ryan Reynolds again in some other movie, I don't want to see him coming back as Wolverine. I just don't want to see it. It would be wrong in so many levels. That's all I'm going to say on that one. I felt that I would touch upon it because I did see the news breaking. It shook me up in all the wrong ways, and I just felt I had to. I can't do a movie news show and not speak about it, so I got it out of my system. And now I'm going to end on a more light-hearted note. This one is all about Narnia producer hoping that a potential reboot will be episodic in its structure, and it will be a TV show from Netflix. Now this is Douglas Gresham, I want to say his name is, and apparently Netflix have been planning adaptations of the C.S. Lewis novels, and this is the Chronicles of Narnia producer, and he has been speaking to someone. I can't actually find the quote for the life of me, but he says, I've not heard a word from them. I'm kind of getting worried myself as to whether anything's ever going to happen. Though he still expressed hope that things would get moving soon, and obviously he does, he mentions the fact that he would love it to be an episodic thing, because with a movie you have an hour, maybe 2 hours maximum if you really stretch it, to put an entire book, an adventure storybook, into the film, and you just can't do it. Look, I agree, and I also agree with what he says. The entire book, every single nuance of it on screen, he wants to see that represented in an episodic format. And I think this speaks volumes really about just where we are in the entertainment industry right now, that you have producers of big blockbusters, which did okay, coming to the realisation that long form storytelling could be the best thing for certain stories like this. And I think it just shows you where TV is now as a medium in comparison to where it was a decade ago, maybe longer, and how far it's came. And when you have the realisation of producers like this coming out and talking it up, that they want to make something in TV format for a Netflix, as opposed to releasing it in a big blockbuster release in theatres. And I think it's the correct decision. I agree with the guy. I hope that Netflix don't go down the movie route, for some reasons which I will get into, but primarily I think people have had enough with the Chronicles of Narnia movie thing. We had the movies. I don't think they'll be topped in the movie format, and I don't think we should go back and try to reboot it so soon after we had those movies. The other reason is for what he says, the nuance and the long form storytelling which would be afforded to a director, a producer, writers in that episodic TV format. It's something I've wanted to see for a Lord of the Rings, and that's why I'm so excited that Amazon are taking on that story. If they can do it right, obviously it's going to be a prequel to the Lord of the Rings, I'm pretty sure. It's the sort of, I can't even recall the actual name, the Unfinished Tales had it, just the sort of awakening of the world. I'm pretty sure that's what they're going to be tackling. They're not going to go over the Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers and the Return of the King again. But it just lends a certain different style of storytelling to, as I did say, crew members, filmmakers alike, and it's something that's going to be very interesting to see if they do go down that route of potentially making a Chronicle or a Narnia TV show, how long it could run for and what scope they could introduce, because we know Netflix do have access to large sums of money. We've seen it with The Mandalorian, $10 million episodes, so it's certainly no obstruction being on TV to a high quality production, high quality CG and great storytelling. So look, time will tell with that one. We'll see if Gresham gets his way, Douglas Gresham, and we'll see if Netflix have any appetite for bringing the Narnia, Chronicles of Narnia TV show to their streaming service. Lord knows, I think they'd be crazy not to, because C.S. Lewis had a truly unique mind and a good friend of John Ronald Reuel Tolkien to boot. But look guys, I'm going to round up the show on that note. What is your thoughts on the array of topics I spoke about? What do you make about Tenet potentially being a Cold War, a quantum Cold War movie? Do you think it is going to be the event movie of the year, the most important release that could perhaps shake up cinema going audience members? What's your thoughts on Temuera Morrison perhaps reprising his role as Boba Fett and Captain Rex? Do you think it's fan service? Do you think it's something that's necessary? Are you excited for it? Are you underwhelmed by it? What's your thoughts on Mike Flanagan perhaps adapting, obviously, another Stephen King work? And what's your thoughts on Hugh Jackman and this Narnia topic? If you've got anything to say at all, you can comment below and let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it, and you can subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. And if you do, then you'll see me back again for another movie news show at some point and some more movie reviews.